Hey everybody, it's Alexander Dahl with Manifest Vitality once again. So I got another interview ready to go. So we'll go ahead and just jump straight into that one. All right, here you go. All right, so I'm currently on the phone with Robert. He's another one of the musicians that reached out about the interview series. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the opportunity to introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Robert Wonderlich from Northern Acoustics. Northern Acoustics is my moniker that I perform under. Uh, I'm a hard of hearing musician, kind of sort of like Beethoven. If Beethoven and Bob Dylan made a baby together, that's pretty much me. I'm from the Minnesota area, same stomping grounds as Dylan, pretty much following in his footsteps. Trying not to do the same thing as him, but you can definitely tell he's had some big influence, especially up here in Minnesota, where we take pride in the people that come from here that reach superstardom with the rest of the world.
Sure, definitely. So, tell me about how you first got into music. What did you see in music that made you want to participate in it, and what was kind of the motivating factors to really sink your teeth into it?
I was a classically trained flutist back in the day. Back in my elementary days, I was always second seat, and competing for first seat was always like initiated that spark in me to be better in music, to get more discipline, learn my stuff, know what it takes to become better. And it just sort of ignited the flame of my love for music, because I went from playing flute to playing guitar to playing congas and bongos and banjo, as well as mandolin and harmonica, and just a lot of like deep rooted folksy instruments that I really, really enjoy the sound of stringed instruments, as well as certain metal instruments such as like flute, you would say like woodwinds, I suppose. But that really just gave me that drive back in the day. And I always stress how important it is that we need to keep music in public schools, because if I didn't have that, who knows where I would have ended up.
Sure, definitely. So you would say that the majority of your exposure to instruments early on came from the public school classes?
Yeah, definitely. When you have those extracurricular activities, it gives you an outlet to express yourself creatively, whether it be woodworking, welding, even, music classes, drama even plays a significant role in helping students learn good habits to cope with their everyday life.
Sure, definitely. So once you kind of had this exposure to instrumentation, how did you kind of figure out that you wanted to like propel that into the rest of your life?
Well, it all started when I watched the movie Walk the Line. That was pretty much a movie biography of Johnny Cash. And seeing him get up on stage and sing in front of a bunch of people and have the spotlight on him was something that made me go, I want to be that guy. I want to be able to stand up and say, hey, I got something to say. I got something for you guys to enjoy. I really enjoy entertaining other people, definitely being from that setting where I was classically trained in flute and had to play in orchestra and play so many shows. And, I always wanted to be that first chair, that, the front man, the guy in the front. Even though as egotistical as that sounds, I try to keep it down to earth. And I know I'm not the greatest, but, I'm on the road to getting there. That's the kind of determination that I have about it, because you only get better as the years go by, the more you put into it.
Sure, definitely. And there's nothing wrong with having confidence in what you're doing.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a little bit has to be confidence, or otherwise, people tend to get tired of the whole pity story, like, oh, I'm not the greatest, I'm not the best, and they think you're just feeling down about yourself. But I just like to look at it as the truth, like I can always get better.
Right, right. And that's a healthy perspective to have as a musician. You never know everything.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, along those notes, you've built up your confidence. You have your kind of familiarity with instruments. How did you kind of select the type of music that you wanted to make, and then the voice that you wanted to have?
So when I was a teenager, I used to work with this director back in the day named Jaden Frost, and he was basically a up and coming horror film um, type of guy. He had like fancy cameras and stuff like that. I was working with his cousin in a band back then called Bleed Like Die, And he said something that really stuck out to me. Like, you don't see a lot of bands doing the stuff like Nirvana did Unplugged, like a full acoustic band. And that stuck with me because I was always a big fan of all the acoustic alternative songs that bands were putting out back in the day. I was
Hmm.
definitely a big fan of Stained, and it really just stuck out to me how he's like, there's nobody else doing that kind of thing. And as I started venturing out in that kind of four-way, I made my way into, the country, folk, Americana, bluesy type of deal that, the birthplace of rock came out of. And I was seeing that, this stuff that I was writing about comes directly influenced from all these alternative bands. But if I added it to what they're doing in folk, what they're doing in country, it would be some sort of like alternative country type of deal. But the label folk always really stuck out for me. Every time somebody would listen to me, since it's usually just me on the harmonica with the guitar and having me sing a couple lines, it really reminds them of the Bob Dylan folksy thing. But I try to incorporate as many instruments as I can into the songs, but sometimes it's better to just um, the less is more theory, where,
Hmm.
if the message is more important than the music, maybe the music needs to reflect that.
Sure. So, you would essentially say that that kind of style of music kind of helped you identify the type of voice that you wanted to have.
Yeah, it really especially helped me when I was looking for, who am I? What am I
Hmm.
doing? How do I place myself in this world of music? Because, I really like playing stringed instruments. I really like going on a mic and singing. And a lot of my music history is learned through 14 years living down in North Carolina, where that Southern country music was very prevalent. You pretty much heard it every time you go out. And I'm not going to lie and say that I picked up some of the accent, and sometimes my singing voice goes into that southern thing, and it goes between the north and the south. And I feel like it's just really interesting how people say that even though Bob Dylan made an interesting footprint on the history of rock music, he also made several footprints on folk as well as, the Tennessee sound that was coming out of Nashville back in the day. Like I think around the early 70s when he was really duetting with Johnny Cash for the longest time. It just really struck me out that this guy from the north with the northern singing voice comes down to the south, and country people just accept him as one of their own. Uh, it
Hmm.
really, really just opened the doors for me coming into country. Like, yeah, I know all these good artists, all these good songs. I'm not, strictly leaning into the rock and roll like I want to do rock and roll. I just want to make music and see what people enjoy, pretty much. I always come out of every show thinking, okay, they didn't really react that well to this song. I need to leave it out. And um, basically, like, develop my sound around the audience that I'm reaching out to. Uh, that kind of music, the folk country thing, is very popular up here in Minnesota.
Hmm.
Definitely a big staple in the northern country types that you see out here all the time. And it's really beautiful music when you get past all that stadium country and
Hmm.
ignore what you hear on major radio, because I can't stand any of that. Like, it's good to have a good drinking song, but when you're listening to 15 of them in a row, it kind of tends to wear you out.
Sure, sure, definitely. So,
Yeah.
how did you approach the process of getting a band together and working with other musicians to get your music to a point where you could start playing it live?
Uh, what I've been doing is just pretty much shaking hands in the music industry and just trying to make as many friends as I can. Sometimes some people won't see eye to eye with me, and I would rather say, hey, if we can't work on this project together, then we can do something together at least, instead of just trying to keep. I would rather have more friends than I do enemies, anyways.
Hmm.
A lot of the roles that I need for Northern Acoustics tend to be not met by some people who say the country thing is old and done and tired. It's getting put to rest, but you really honestly only see two types of music prevailing nowadays. Well, three if you count metal. There's country and rap, and that's definitely. I guess pop music is always going to be there as well. So I guess four. I have to correct myself.
Sure. So going forward with that, where would you like to see your career in 5, 10 years if you continue along the current path that you're going?
Um, I've got a major plan ahead for me. I've been working on what I call my project Northern Acoustics 2022, which is pretty much I got a debut feature length album coming out with a bunch of features from artists such as Metal Mouth from North Carolina. I also have MC Curdy Waters from Montana. I have the boys from uh, Mellow Vibes Records. They have two of their artists featuring on a couple of my songs. And I have a local musician in Virginia, Minnesota that I work with called Alex Kangas from Samsara. That's going to be a feature soloist on one of the songs as well. And I've already got my merchandise lined up for, the worldwide, not exactly worldwide tour, but maybe like a regional tour of, like, say, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, uh, all those states in that area. I've been
Mm-hmm.
working with uh, Pintinelli Entertainment, and they've been a wonderful booking agency for me. And they've been top notch, fantastic, directing me to the places that I need to go. And he tells me that he books all over the United States, so I'm hoping to work more closely with him as well. So next year is definitely going to be a big thing. I actually had something like this set up before the pandemic hit, and I kind of lost faith over that year that we had COVID-19 and everything shutting down, and you
Mm-hmm.
saw musicians left and right, like, that were prepared just like me to go out and tour around the whole country, and you see their dreams just dashed because they put so much time, so much effort, so much work, and so much money, their blood, their sweat,
Mm-hmm.
their tears, everything, and it's all gone. And I'm really glad that we're recovering from that, since it seemed like it was a really depressing time for a lot of us, especially musicians, since
Mm-hmm.
we all had to pretty much stop doing what we loved and focus on the things that actually do really matter in life, such as your family, your close ones, because you never know who it's going to hit and take.
Right, definitely. So what are some really prominent memories that have stuck out to you while participating in music? Like things that really kind of stick to your mind?
I have a favorite memory. I have two of them. I got one. Both of them are down in North Carolina. One was when it was a spontaneous metal band that just got together. It was just me as the guitarist, another bassist, a drummer, and some screamer vocalist that came up on stage. No rehearsal, no nothing. And all we did was play one song. And as soon as the song ended, I got carried off stage holding my guitar while I'm doing some little guitar noodling as and people are cheering and clapping. That was fantastic. I just really love playing live shows, especially because you never know what happens. Because I've also played an acoustic set with my old band down in North Carolina, Scream Sarah Scream. We played at the local coffee shop there, and we weren't expecting nothing but 20 people. 1,000 people just packed the whole place, and just there were so many people from the local, like, get-togethers. All we did was just basically tell our friends, "Hey, bring your friends," and then it just turned into this huge, like, gathering, and we all played, and it was a wonderful experience because after the show you get to connect and meet with people, and um, it's just like I was trying to get out of the whole place, and some guy's trying to get in, and he's like, "Move out of the way!" Just screaming, and we're all laughing because it's so crowded. It was just like so many people. I couldn't believe, like, something that was a small band that the five of us worked together to make something out of. And it was just a fantastic experience. And those are the stories that I love to share with other musicians
Hmm.
if they're like down on their luck, like, hey man, if you're not getting your shows, if you're not getting your music out there, all you need to do is just spend some time practicing and relax and think about yourself, and then come back out. And because you never know what's going to happen if you give up and not do anything, because
Absolutely.
you'll your skills will definitely decline and you'll definitely be out of it. And music history tends to treat those who actually have been working for a long time in the music industry really well, because you'll see names of people behind the scenes that you didn't even know were behind the scenes, and they're forever stamped in that uh, big giant book of the history of music.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you look at some of the guys that worked on the Beatles album, and you'd never think that they thought that they would ever have their name like immortalized. They were just the guy that made sure that the microphone was set up in the right place for it to be.
Right. So, what are some links where people can take a listen to the stuff that you're putting out?
I'm definitely a observer of human emotion. I'm very in touch with human emotions. I'm a little empathetic, and one of the things that I found that I write really well about is describing these feelings to other people, such as um, I have a couple friends who are autistic and they have a hard time describing feelings. And I've seen that and said, hey, well, why don't you just like tell me your stories and I'll write songs out of them. And that's pretty much what I did for a while. With the new album coming up, I definitely took another source of inspiration from that. But I also explore other aspects as well. I've been trying to write about current events and more political stuff, to keep the spirit of the folk alive, because folk music is supposed to bring enjoyment to those who are disturbed and disturb those who are comfortable.
Sure. And for those things, did you have any stuff material that you've already put out, or are you waiting for next year for the EP that you're working on?
Um, Actually, I do have a demo EP that's across all streaming services. I just wanted to get that out of the way, have something out there for people to listen to and get a taste of what I'm trying to do. Um, it was very difficult to figure out a way to put money into making physical copies and selling those out. And to me, I'm not a kind of guy that likes to keep things expensive. I like to keep them cheap. I don't want people to say, why am I spending $20 on a CD? I want people to say, hey, I could sell them at like $5 and still have people money coming in and all that business ledger stuff that I don't really like to bother with. I found it easier to just put like a demo on streaming services such as Spotify, Pandora, and it's really helped a lot of uh, other radio stations find my music and other people are talking about myself. I just found out last night that one of my buddies was actually talking to somebody who works in iHeartRadio and mentioned my name, and he just was like, "Okay, I'll just play this on the radio station." And I was just really pleasantly surprised by that, as you it's true what they say. What you put into it, you get back. As I put a lot of work into trying to figure out something that works for me and my fans.
And all the stuff that you put out is under the name Northern Acoustics.
Under Northern Acoustics, you could just type that right into Spotify. Northern Acoustics, I show up. It's pretty much the self-titled EP. And you get like 5 songs, so it's not really like an album or anything of the sort. I got like a good 15 songs planned out for the next album that I'm just hoping will be a commercial success. I've been writing a lot of radio friendly songs, of featuring a lot of artists that other people do know, trying to get my name out there, as well as bringing uh, quality product to the fans or any audience, you know.
So I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out like their last word. So a message that you kind of just feel resonates with you.
Uh, a message that resonates with me deeply is definitely, you know, I'm a big fan of Woody Guthrie. He's his messages were short, sweet, and simple. And one of the things that he liked to tell other musicians when they were up and coming, if you need to use more than two chords to get your message out, you're just showing off. And, you know, a lot of people don't think that simplicity is enough, but simplicity can speak volumes.